Why do you suck too? Thank you to our final patrons, Strawbones, 4765, Midnight Gemlord, Sean, and Artigoon. And a very big thank you to our $25 patron, Alex Ice Rose. Now, we're having this breakdown / discussion on how Gideon, like all other things about the Giant Clan, kind of sucks. Please remember to leave your own thoughts on Gideon in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, hit that little notification bell so you miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below. You support yourself as $1 month, exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, let's hop into the discussion. What's up, guys? Welcome to Geared. Here we are to talk about Gideon and how it's kind of giddy booty. Like, why? And here's the thing, right? It's so booty relative to its competition. And some of its competition is kind of booty too, which is kind of crazy to think about. But here's the thing, right? So Gideon is the second sacred treasure that we ever see in the entire series. Like, legitimately, in terms of, like, seeing it being wielded and seeing it be used by its respective sin, it is the second one that we see. And, like, I'll admit, Mother Catastrophe is cool and all, but when you look at it next to its contemporaries, especially the one that came before it, dog, the Spirit Spear blows it out of the water. Like, it's legit not even close. Like, it is no competition. The Spirit Spear is way better. And the thing is, I won't lie to you, as cool as Mother Catastrophe is, even the Twin Bow Herod, which we get introduced right after Gideon, is low-key kind of better. Especially for Gother specifically. Because at least its magical ability is kind of useful. And then, the one we get introduced to after that, Lost Vein, also blows Gideon out of the water in terms of general usefulness. And then we meet Alden. Alden's kind of booty. Like, Alden's like the only one that's worse because we literally just don't know what it does. It's just a conduit for magic, but all the weapons are a conduit for magic. It and Gideon are pretty much on the same level for a majority of the series. Then we get introduced to Rita. And sure, Rita ended up being very brittle, but still, it was useful. Charging fire, storing Escanor's extra magic, all that stuff, really, really good. Even Corachus, even though I think it's, like, pretty lame, no matter what you Bond fans try to do to convince me that it isn't, even though Corachus is pretty lame, it still does give a pretty sizable imp. You know, hyper concentration is neat, it's cool and all. The thing about Gideon that sucks is that, like, it's just a big hammer. Because Diane can't even use the other ability of it well. Because it literally destroys everything around her. Like, Gideon's lightning rod ability, on paper, sounds really, really good. And in fact, maybe if it was used on the planet itself, it could be really, really good. We saw it mainly used on, like, a floating sky island. So obviously there's going to be tons of collateral damage about there. But even still, like, the fact that it is just a basic lightning rod, meaning that you don't get to redirect the magic, you don't get to absorb the magic, you can't use it against your opponent. No, you just set it straight into the ground. Like, and the thing is, Diane doesn't even use it that interesting. Like, hypothetically, if you could send the magic into the ground, and then the magic is now infused into the soil and rocks that you implanted it into, and then using creation or your giant powers, you could then lob the magic infused rocks to get extra buffs, or use the magic against your opponent, that'd be one thing. But no, all it does is send the magic into the ground, and then bada bing, bada boom, it blow. And ironically enough, it could, like, never be useful if it was just that simple. Because, early on in the series, characters' magical attacks are powerful enough to do way too much damage to the environment. So just sending the magic into the ground was never going to be a good opportunity, pretty much ever. Like, unless it was specifically Guild Thunder's magic, because, you know, rock beats lightning. Not sure Naruto for some reason. But regardless of that, Gideon doesn't get any usefulness anywhere. The one time it is used for its special ability, it like, stalls twice and then destroys the island it's on, and then never gets used again. I don't know, lightning round's got a booty. And I feel like it's such an easy workaround. It's such an easy fix. And it could have been used well to give Diane a proper buff. Because the thing is, Diane is a character who throughout the entire narrative kind of, like, never gets anything substantial. Like, true, she does learn Droll's dance. But, like, that's it. And she needs time. She needs setup for that. Like, if all the opponents that the Seven Deadly Sins end up facing up against won't let Diane dance up. Like, it's a whole thing in the Demon King fight where she has to dance up while being protected by her comrades. So, like, she can't even use the dodging aspect of it that well. But what could you do to make Diane relevant? Easy. Give her the ability to act as the conduit for Lightning Rod. it would make Gideon and Diane more useful at the same time. Sure, I could definitely see some problems with it. It'd be like, well, you have to worry about like giving Diane all these extra powers and stuff like that and how she's going to interact with them. But still, I think it would be a net benefit. Like, you don't lose anything from doing that to Gideon. Instead of just making a lightning rod that sends stuff into the earth, send it into Diane. Then she could get things like the properties of the light ball of love, and she could use them against Mael. Then she should use it, like, more often. Notably, the ability does not show up at all for a majority of the series, and then the one time it shows up, it disappears. Because, well, it kind of just doesn't have any use. So by repurposing it, you kill two birds with one stone. You make the sacred treasure, you know, the thing that was hyped up super crazily throughout a majority of the series after King was introduced, and actually make it kind of crazy, for once, maybe, possibly, and then also get Diane a buff, because Diane always needs buffs. Like, legitimately, I'm kind of intrigued to see what Nakama does for Knights-wise to actually make her a threat to Arthur. Like, Meliodas, I can believe. Bro just has gains out the wazoo. Bon, I can also believe. Bro just has gains out the wazoo. Go there, he has mental hacks. You know, mental hacks always go crazy. He can literally just directly attack your soul and your spirit, all that good stuff. I believe it. King, gains out the wazoo. Escanor, in a grave and or revived into a chaos creature. And Merlin, hiding, I suppose. But she also has the gains out the wazoo. Diane? I'm not sure what kind of dancing she gonna do to get up there. But imagine she could act as a conduit for other magics. If you could make Gideon, give Gideon the buff so that she could control the magic. Like, here's the thing. Maybe you don't have Diane absorb it, right? Because maybe that leads to too many things, too many conflicts, like what would happen to a giant if they absorb darkness magic, or goddess magic, or fairy magic, or human magic. At least have it so that Gideon can act as sort of a storage unit, and then she can choose which magic she outputs when she attacks. So, like, hypothetically, if she were in a battle, she could, one, intercept people and take their attacks in the lightning rod to sort of negate their magical abilities, and then whenever the time is right, she could swing the hammer and either A, hit her opponent directly with the hammer plus the magical amp, and or send the magic back out as if it were more like a open and closed circuit. Like, she can absorb it, the magic will flow around within Gideon, and then boom, she can hit you with it. I think that would be a better way to make Gideon more relevant and make Diane more relevant. It would give her a lot more general utility, because once again, Seven Deadly Sins is such a heavily magic-based verse that I wouldn't blame you for believing something like Lightning Rod would be really, really good, because it gets you to negate half a chunk of the series, at least in terms of combat. Like, the reason I think Zeldris, especially, well, no, not especially, but in his prime, is such a dangerous being for multiple people to fight, not just in his own verse, but out of his verse, is because he negates a whole attacking category. So if Diane were given that ability through her weapon, we could actually make her kind of viable. We could kind of make Gideon useful and make Diane useful. Even though I still think it would just balance her, right? Because that's the biggest thing. Gideon seems extremely unbalanced next to the rest of its Seven Deadly Sins Sacred Treasure contemporaries, and Diane seems extremely unbalanced next to the rest of her contemporaries. The only one, like I said, is Alden. That seems like, it's kind of just a flat nothing. You don't necessarily get much with it. Meanwhile, with every other Sacred Treasure, cloning, magic storage, I have to explain the Spirit Spear, hyper concentration, automatic tracking, like, these abilities are crazy for their respective character to have access to. So giving Diane the ability to just say no, shake her head to half the verse, I think it would be good at giving her relevancy. Like, it's sad to think about, but Gideon and Diane's combined contribution to the Demon King fight was making a platform. And then, don't get me wrong, the platform was important. Obviously, they need to separate him from the Magic Lake. But they didn't even damage him. Like, they hit him with a big old storm of rocks. It was meant to put Mother Catastrophe to shame with Mother Creation. And the Demon King was just like, oh, I mean, you moved me, but I'm probably like 340 pounds soaking wet, and you hit me with like 50 tons. Okay, you moved me. What else? I think it just makes Gideon underwhelming, especially considering when it has to follow up. Like, that's the thing. Maybe if it wasn't so hyped, the Sacred Treasures weren't so hyped, and others didn't have such good abilities, then maybe I would be a lot less harsh on Gideon. But The thing about Alden, why I can't necessarily get on Alden's case too much, is because Merlin was just a secretive wild card throughout the entire original series. I think it's purposeful that Nakaba just didn't show us what, or why, or how Alden was. I think there was a purposeful omission so we could get something for Four Knights. But no, Nakaba showed us what Gideon could do, and proceeded to make it worthless within its same introduction. I don't know how you do that. Like, every other sacred treasure, upon its introduction, proved useful. Like, beyond a shadow of a doubt. The Spirit Spear obviously went dummy on Gila. Korchus obviously went dummy on the Enduraspawn. Twin Bow Herod went dummy on everybody who was in there. Like, the whole group it went dummy on. Heck, Lost Vein went dummy on the Albion. Lightning Rod and Gideon, I mean, it went dummy on the island it was on before destroying said island because it couldn't do anything with the like, that's the thing. I just feel like it's such a wasted ability that with just minor tweaks, little minor tweaks, could be so much better. So much better. It could give Diane so much more utility, give Gideon so much more respect, and really play into the whole, like, giant stability thing, right? Because that's a big thing about the Giant Clan. They're meant to be like these massive, hulking, stable mountains of mass that are supposed to block off and hold the line. But I don't necessarily get that from Lightning Rod and or Gideon. It's kind of just like, oh, I mean, we'll kind of hold the line. Like, we may hold it down like a little bit, like, you know, a little bit, but we can't do all that for you. Like, it's really not that deep. And I think that's rough. As a sacred treasure, as Diane's sacred treasure, ironically enough, Diane and her sacred treasure, I'm pretty sure are the only ones that, like, literally line up perfectly. Like, Diane is the second sin we directly get introduced to, and Gideon is the second sacred treasure we directly get introduced to, but both of them are extremely underwhelming despite both being together. Like, normally you can take two mediocre parts, put them together, and get something much greater, but not in Gideon and Diane's case, which is really, really rough. I'm hoping in Four Knights she gets an amp, and I hope Gideon can be used better. I think every other sacred treasure has proven that it can be used in interesting and unique ways, but for Gideon, it's had a rough run. It's had a very rough run, and I hope that Nakaba can do something with it. Something at least. Please, Nakaba, don't just leave it hanging. However, that's what I think. Please tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. How would you fix Gideon if you did want to fix it at all? Do you think I'm going crazy and Gideon doesn't need any fixing? Tell me all that and more in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure that little notification won't miss out on any videos that come on the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below. It's for as low as $1 a month. Exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dagger the Pencil, writing off.